Now, here's how you make a submission. Everyone must make a submission. First, we'll put up this email. You send your submission to economics.sen@aph.gov.au. Right? Don't worry about doing the upload thing, just send an email. You address it to Senate Standing Committee on Economics, PO Box 6100, Parliament House, Canberra, ACT 2600. Right? So you just address it to that and then go dear to or to whom it may concern, right? And then write what you want to write, but here's the subjects you should touch on, right? Because it's about the provisions in the bill. Civil liberties is an important one, right? Cash is legal tender, as Craig said before the break. You have a right to privacy. You have a right to not use a bank if you wish. And this takes that away. Plus, you don't want the government and the banks to be able to monitor and measure, the word of the guy who recommended this cash ban, monitor and measure everything you do financially. Why should they have the right to do that, right? So civil liberties is something you should write about if you're concerned about. I suspect we all are. Second, the practical benefits of using cash. Power supplies and communications technology is not always reliable. And we've seen that just in the last couple of weeks. Multiple instances, Commonwealth Bank first, and then this week 3 banks all went down and people weren't able to use their payment systems, right? They're not always reliable. So that's ridiculous to be able to start pushing people away from that. Instant settlement for cash can also be better for commerce. You know that you've got your payment, right, straight away. And including large amounts of cash. Who are they to say, oh, people don't use large amounts of cash? Some people do. So make that point, especially if that's something that affects you. It's good for a discount. One of my friends, Genevieve Carrier, put on Twitter this week, I'll put the tweet up, she spoke to a local petrol station owner, an independent one, who was upset because his suppliers are saying he can only pay them electronically, and he told Genevieve he's been forced more and more into the banks, and his bank charges have gone through the roof in the last 10 years, right? And people don't like that. They want to be able to avoid it if they can, and this is going to start making it harder and illegal for them to do that. The other thing to address, the excuses for the law are false, also as Craig said before the break. Eliminating the black economy is one of the excuses. It's a lie and it won't work. As the ad said, our black economy is already small and shrinking, and cash restrictions have not reduced the black economies of European countries. They've made them worse, right? So that's ridiculous. A second excuse, restricting cash won't stop tax evasion because the majority of tax evasion is not done by individuals. It's done by big corporations and big banks using the big 4 accounting firms. It's a big scam around the world. As Andrew Wilkie said in that speech last week in Parliament that we played on the show last week, the government has all the laws it needs to crack down on those things. It doesn't use them. Ignoring the big guys and coming after us is a travesty of justice. And then finally, 2 things to make the point. The real reason is to trap Australians in banks. The IMF has said it in black and white. Negative interest rates, which all central banks are going to, will not work unless people cannot leave the banks. If they can use cash, they will leave the banks. Bail-in is the same thing. People will get wind of bail-in, they'll pull their money out of the bank, and then bail-in won't work. They have to trap people into banks. And the last point to make is that the government's reassurances are fake because they're not guarantees. And we'll put on the screen, Melissa Harrison of Exposing the Black Economy report did this refutation. The government produced a fact sheet of this bill, right? And Melissa, quickly in yellow there, refuted everyone. And the main point is this: all the so-called guarantees are not, the exemptions are not in the bill, they're in the regulations, and those regulations can be easily changed, whereas the bill can't.
Yep,
right?
that's right.
So make your submission, rewind this if you have to, follow those tips and put it in straight away.